Hey, this is Debbie Williams, aka Soul Fitness Diva. I hope you're well today. And today I want to do something different. I wanted to give in an astrological commentary on the life of Vanity, also known as Evangelist Denise Matthews. She was a Capricorn sun. Her moon was in Scorpio, and because her birth time is unknown, I can't give you her ascendant. But basically, these are some of the difficult aspects on her chart that reflect the life that she lived. Her moon is square her Mars, which means she had the drive to succeed, that her sexuality was a force to be reckoned with. This was just a part of who she was. It just some people are just, have a low sexuality. Other people have like an average sexuality, and then others are like what they call high sex. They just have a very powerful sexual persona. Marilyn Monroe had that. I don't know her chart, but I do know that Scorpio is a very, very intense sign, and it's very mysterious. It speaks to just an energy. It's just a very sexual, very intense type of sexuality. And when this, people with this aspect, when that sexuality, when it's restricted, the frustration can become dangerous. Her, her moon square Mars indicates a person who is also a fighter, very highly emotional, very passionate, both sexually and spiritually. And with her spirituality, she was very, very passionate. Moon square Mars brings intense emotions, intense moods to the point of crisis, where the intensity is more than what the average person has. And with an aspect like this, they can be easily drawn to drugs, to alcohol, to escapism, to religious escapism and extremism, to numb the pain. In a man with this position, there's a propensity for like a huge sexual appetite. But in women, there's a strong, strong need to express herself, to just express her sexuality. And the challenge is to find a way to channel this energy, which I don't think that Vanity really had a way to balance. I think there was a lot of a lot of cognitive dissonance with her because she was very spiritual, and at the same time, this strong sexual presence that she had, she wasn't able to make peace with the two. And in addition to the child abuse, the sexual molestation, and being in the limelight, being famous, and everybody wanted her, and she's got all of this conflict going on within her. Um, she just went right into escapism, and she changed drugs, from drugs and alcohol, to again, spiritual extremism, to try to to control the intensity that she felt. She also has Neptune in Scorpio, and this astrological placement, is indicative to a person who is naturally drawn to the spiritual as well as the sexual. She had a conflict. In church, they call it the battle between the flesh and the spirit. And in philosophy, the ego, the self-serving ego, versus the self-sacrificing, or service to the world, or using, this Neptune influence. Neptune is on the challenging side, that's where you see, the drugs, the alcohol, the escapism, the religious extremism. But on the higher octave of Neptune, it is very beautifully spiritual, very intuitive, even, very psychic, or I guess in the church, people would call that, someone who is prophetic. They call people, with that ability to see, people who have that sight, that seer thing. In the church they prefer to call it, prophetic versus the word psychic. But yeah, she was intensely sexual and intensely spiritual all at the same time, and in a religion that says no, you can't do that, it's got to be one or the other. And then there's the cognitive dissonance, and there's the tension, the stress, and she had to tame that. She had to calm it, and she chose or gravitated to drugs and alcohol. And then again later, the religious extremism that ultimately killed her. She died refusing medical treatment, and that is very Neptunian. That is so Neptunian. With a religious extremism. I have a background of this religious extremism, as a lot of you know, and I watched a lot of people, die the way that Vanity did, refusing blood transfusions and refusing, organ transplants and other needed, life-saving medical treatment, all in the name of religion. She really believed, and I'll post the video below, she needed to express her need to express her spirituality was so powerful to the point where she was willing to die for it, waiting for God to heal her instead of accepting an organ transplant. And you'll see her say that herself, in the video link below. Now, people with a Neptune Scorpio influence like what she has, she's got Neptune and Scorpio, they're aware of humankind's potential for transformation. And Pluto being the ruler of Scorpio, it's all about transformation. It is about death as well, but it's about, transformation. It's about change, radical change. People who have this Plutonian, element are capable of great things. They're also capable of great destruction, whether it's destroying other people or self-destruction, destroying themselves. But, they have this potential, for transformation and away from, the materialistic. And she did this through her evangelicalism, her religious conversion. She was out there, trying to convert other people because it was her religious belief system that, her religion was the only way, and she had to save, all these people, because of her blind spot, that, and Scorpio being fixed, and also the fact that she's got Chiron in Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed sign as well. And, Chiron, that speaks to our wound. Chiron is the wound, and it's in Aquarius. And Aquarius, is like a humanitarian type of sign. And, once again, it reflects that she was a tortured soul who was trying to not only save herself, but trying to save humanity, through her, religious beliefs. Now, Vanity also has her moon in Scorpio, and for someone who went through not religious trauma, but sexual trauma, being molested as a child, they would go through really intense emotions over negative things that happened to them. People with this placement, they live for emotional intensity, which is what she did, both sexually and religiously, to the point of claiming that Jesus was her husband. I mean, that's how extreme the religion became. And I can give you, an example of something that I experienced. My pastor, once upon a time, this was a Pentecostal born again church. In her ignorance of human biology, this pastor told the congregation that God gave her orgasms so that she wouldn't be tempted to sin, but that masturbation was evil. And this is the kind of extremism that I'm talking about here. With the moon in Scorpio, there's going to be a lot of drama. There's going to be a lot of upheaval, a lot out of control. And I believe if Vanity had sought or had the mind to seek psychological help instead of, turning to extremist religion, that she would have been able to work through her trauma issues and deal with what was going on in her subconscious mind, and that she would still be here today if she had, had the mind to do that. But, coming from, the black community where there's so much religious extremism, and to search beyond the religious box is frowned upon. And so a lot of people don't get help because of that reason. Because of their conditioning. There's this thing to, create emotional drama, with Moon and Scorpio, because, especially where there's trauma involved. And when things start to, become normal, you'll create the drama because it's what's familiar. It's the thing that and then you see that, with her relapses where she almost, where she overdosed. And there's a lot of, because there's this fixed influence, with this, with her Chiron being in Aquarius, and, so much Scorpio. You can see in the video that she is very resistant to opinions of others. It's basically a my way or the highway type of thing. Now, she also has what's called a stellium. She's got Jupiter, her moon. Okay, something happened with my camera. I don't know what was going on there, but as I was saying, Vanity has a, what's called a stellium in Scorpio. And a stellium is when there's 3 planets or more in one sign or in one house. And hers is in the sign of Scorpio. And the fact that she has so many planets in Scorpio just amplifies, the insight that I've shared here. Scorpio is intense, it's mysterious, it's sexual, it's dark, it's extreme, it's very emotional. Jupiter being there in that stellium, Jupiter in Scorpio as well, is a reflection of her strong drive and attraction, to spirituality. And it's there because she needed to find security, and Jupiter is the ruler of the 9th house. And the 9th house is a very spiritual house. It's the house of spirituality, it's the house of philosophy, it's the house of, higher learning, the house of expansion, or expanded consciousness. And I've personally experienced, when I've had Jupiter transits, that's when I'm experiencing the most grace in my life. A lot of people don't believe that, that that the heavens or guardian angels, work with, or work through these energies, this cosmos that, was put there by the creator. But how many of us know, women in particular, that, on certain full moons, or even when the moon is full, that, our periods are more intense, or our PMS, or, even menopausal symptoms, tend to flare up more, during those full moons. It's a fact that, and you can talk to a lot of, emergency room workers, people who work in the mental health field, people who work in prisons. They will tell you that, when the moon is full, that seems to be the time when everything just goes off the hook. I mean, it's their busiest times, it's their craziest times, all with full moons. So if the moon can affect, people's moods and, events on the earth and things on the earth, then, why not the planet? So this isn't a debate, though. It's not an argument. I just wanted to make the point, because there are debates elsewhere, but my point is just to, to give this presentation of how, Vanity's life, reflects these planetary placements that she has here. And again, in my own personal experience, I have felt that when I'm experiencing Jupiter transits, that's when I have the most grace, the synchronicities, the right time, right place, right person. That's when the breakthroughs happen. When Jupiter is at work, that's when those things tend to happen. And that security, with Jupiter there, in Scorpio, where all of that turbulence is, I believe that was her grace. That she found a way to cope and lived as long as she did. It's a reflection of the grace she experienced because of having lived through all these trials, through all these extremes, with all of this intensity and overwhelm. And she made it to age 37 with all of that. It just, is a reflection of that. The fact that her faith carried her, even though her faith was distorted, even though her faith did lead to her suiciding herself by refusing a kidney transplant, a life-saving medical treatment. In the meantime, her way of coping, her faith did carry her all this time. Now, I believe I mentioned Chiron and Aquarius already, and the fact that, that is her wound, where she tried, she was a tortured soul that tried to save herself through spirituality, and Aquarius is another spiritual sign, but in a different way. But then she also tried to save other people, this evangelism thing, seeing that, Chiron is in Aquarius, could definitely indicate a person who, tried to heal that wound, through, saving other people. Aquarius is also a rebellious sign. You can be, it's two kinds of rebels actually. It can be someone who is, rebellious, or a rebel with a cause type of rebellion, where you go against convention, you go against, the norm, and then you're doing something different, something eccentric, and you have that bent, where you have this tendency to be someone who is, look, she's got the lingerie, she's got the wild persona. David Bowie, I can't remember what his Aquarius placement was. I don't know. I know that Aquarius was, that he had a strong Aquarius influence. Maybe I'll leave an annotation on the video and look it up. But these eccentric people, his Ziggy Stardust, persona, He was definitely out there, and he had that Aquarius influence, and she has it here. And I think that it was kind of, it's usually the 12th house that is it's the house of self undoing. But with Chiron and Aquarius, I mean, it's kind of like, with her religion, this is where she self-destructed. I mean, she tried to save herself, and in trying to save herself, she destroyed herself. She tried to save others, with her religion. I just want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out here. I want to say one more thing. She has what's called a T-square. Her Scorpio moon is in opposition with her Taurus Mars. And the focal point, or the point of focus, is her Uranus in the sign of Leo. And basically what that means, the way I interpret it, is that it reflects the rebelliousness, the adventurousness, the daring, the strong will, the ego, the huge ego, that a lot of people in Hollywood, they have, famous people, they've got, this huge ego. Unlimited creativity. I mean, she just was very creative. And Uranus in Leo people can be dramatic. They can be, just, I am the king of the forest type of thing, and look at me, and, wanting all eyes on me. I mean, Madonna, is a Leo, and that's just an example of, that attention seeking, the craving of attention, is the way I interpret it. The lingerie, the risque wild woman persona, named Vanity, is how I see that. There's so much more to say, even without her ascendant, without knowing her birth time or her ascendant. But this would be a really long video. But I do want to say that that I believe that Prince wrote Little Red Corvette about vanity. And I'm going to make that a part 2. So I'm going to get into Prince and vanity, and just what I see astrologically. I will say that it is beautiful, the way he responded to receiving the news of her death. He was just about to start his concert in Australia. As a matter of fact, he was already on stage when he got the news, and he changed the whole show and dedicated it to her. And with that, I'm going to stop the video, and I will do a part 2 to this video of just what my astrological insight is about the whole Vanity Prince thing. And with that, you have a great day. I'll see you in my next video, and take care. Bye bye.